Shown in the agenda, which hopefully you have or have seen online. A few housekeeping matters. We are not expecting a fire alarm this evening, so if one happens, the officers and I and various councillors I see dotted about the room will show you the safe way out. If you have a mobile or tablet, well, everyone has a mobile or a tablet, could you at least please turn them to silent? On my right is Steve Austin, who is the Traffic Parking Road Safety School Manager, correct? Splendid.
Close enough, thank you.
Good enough. And on my left is Rebecca Reid from Democratic Services, who will be recording the details of this event. We have, I'm asked if there are any declarations of interest, but I don't have one, and I'm the only one that counts on this occasion, I think, so that's fine. I should say to those of you present that decisions made by me are final. There is no court of appeal, but in all likelihood final decisions are unlikely to be made tonight, but we'll go through it as we go. The first petition therefore is on Hunters Grove, Hayes. Do we have a petitioner? And if so, do we have a petitioner? We do. Madam, would you come over here please and sit here and speak? The reason being that anyone speaking tonight has to use a microphone, otherwise the people who may be watching on YouTube won't be able to hear you. Take your time. When you're ready, press the big button on the middle of the microphone stand, and you have up to 5 minutes. You don't have to speak for 5 minutes, but you have up to 5 minutes. When you're ready, press the button. That's all right, don't worry. We're used to... I speak a lot, and people in this room can verify that, but others, it's a new experience, so please take your time. But when you're ready to speak, please press the red button, or the button that is not red but will be when you press it.
I'm a resident at 98 Hunters Grove, Hayes, and in our street, because a lot of disturbance because of the congestion, the parking is a lot of issue, and the reason is for that one too, because people were parking illegally in front of our driveways, and they go for holidays, they still park, and the people from the shopkeepers, they park their cars from the early morning till evening, and the people who go for holidays, they park to our road as well for longer periods, and they occupy 2 spaces as well. And 3 times our poles were broken by the people who were reversing the cars, so I repaired 3 times as well. And my cat was killed as well by the fast drivers in our street as well. And what else? So these are the main things. So, and plus our at the top of the road, people park their cars illegally, and although there's a double yellow line, but nobody cares for the double yellow line, which cause a big congestion at the junction of the Cold Harbour Lane and Hunters Grove. And also the other thing is the bins at the front of the street, which destroy all the scene of the street as well, because these big wheelie bins, and they just, you can see anywhere on the road as well, which is quite dangerous for the pedestrian, especially the moms with the buggies and elderly peoples as well. So this is the overall in our road is a problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you press your button again? Sorry. Thank you. Ward councillors present? Yes. Peter. Very welcome. Didn't see you hiding there. You know the format, so I don't have to tell you.
Thank you. Yes, so board councillors, we support the petition because Hunters Grove and the roads in that area all suffer with congestion. The roads were built really for horse and carts. They're very narrow roads, and you sort of dice with your life as you drive down them on many occasions. So we fully support the petition. I know this is addressed in the report, but I would just point out that the residents in their petition requested that residents and guests should park for free on their road, which of course used to be the policy, but now there's a charge of £75 going up to £80 in the budget. So, I mean, with that sort of in mind, as I say, we fully support it, the proposal, the petition. In the report, it also asks for ward councillors' opinion on the area of consultation. And I would say definitely between Hunters Grove and Minette Drive, but I would recommend that it extends all the way to Birch Way, because all of those roads suffer with the same problems. They're all very small roads, they're all very narrow roads, and they all suffer with exactly the same sort of problems.
Sorry, Peter. Oh, no.
Yeah, so I mean, logically, you would go from Hunters Grove to Minette Drive and the roads in between. But I don't know if it can be split into maybe two sort of consultations. I don't know, but Halls Way, Showers Way, Birch Way, they all suffer with exactly the same problems. So any displacement from Hunters Grove and Crossway and East Walk and West Walk will just add further to their current dilemma, as it were.
Yes, thank you. I mean, that was one of the comments. Well, you've touched on. When I had a look, it was patently obvious. It's a really narrow road, and I mean, actually, there seems to be remarkable. I thought there was remarkable coherence that actually everybody seems to park just on one side. There isn't this, because often in these narrow roads you get 8 cars parked that side and then 2 this side, and actually, when that does happen, it works pretty well as a speed deterrent, but of course it can cause chaos easily, so this is a case in point. And I was going to ask you about the area of search, and no doubt Steve Austin will have a word to say on that in a minute, but I mean, obviously, as things stand, there is an existing parking zone immediately adjacent to Hunters Grove, so extending it would seem to me quite easy, and I think one of the questions maybe we could touch on afterwards is how far back from Cold Harbour Lane you go. I think the going across towards Birch Way, subject to anything that Mr. Austin might say, makes sense. The question might be is how far back you go. The problem that I like to point out, and this is just a realistic factor, of course, is that when, and you will know, when a scheme is put in, invariably the council's engineering officers have to work out where you can put a parking place, thank you, and not, and it's governed by a whole raft of rules about distances from drop curbs and so on and so forth. So what happens in the end is you end up with far fewer parking spaces in a given street than you currently have, where people can just jam their cars in anyway. That's good in the sense that it prevents, hopefully it prevents people parking over driveways and what have you, but what it does do is it means that if a lot of residents also want to park their cars on the street, there are fewer spaces for them to do so. The counter to that, hopefully, is that other people are not parking their car. The councillors will know, and we certainly know, of the issue with holiday parking. It's a problem across a much wider area in the south of the borough, and there are also some firms who will offer to park your car, a valet parking service at the airport, and you give them your keys, and they park it in one of these side streets for the period of your holiday, and then come back and pick it up. So they're collecting revenue at a level that they shouldn't be. It's not technically illegal, so I therefore think, well, it's not something we can act on, but it is causing a problem across a wide area in the south of the borough, and obviously this would act to deal with it. Your comments about double yellow lines, I note, and we'll ask traffic officers to target a bit more carefully, or frequently perhaps, to see if we can issue a few tickets, because usually a few tickets will quickly get the message out that they shouldn't be doing it. But we don't have endless supply of traffic officers, and they can't be everywhere at the same time, so it's inevitable that some people will get away with it. I think you make a good case. I can't see any reason not to investigate this further. I think the caveat I would again say is that the council has a long-term policy of not imposing residents' parking zones on its residents, by which I mean that there will be a consultation, and at the end of the consultation, people's opinions will be asked, and if there is a consensus and a majority in favour of a scheme, then it will go ahead. But if there's a consensus against, then it won't go ahead. We won't impose it. If a majority say no, it's not perfect, but it's better than the alternative, we'd rather stick with what we've got, then that's where we are. So we won't impose, but we will consult. We'll draw up a scheme. We will consult on that scheme, and residents will have the chance to voice their opinion, and based on that opinion, we will then move towards implementation. The caveat I would add to that is that the money for these schemes comes from TfL, and therefore we are to some degree at their beck and call as to as to how liberal they are in passing cash in our direction. But I don't want that to be a hold up in this stage, and it certainly isn't a hold up in terms of getting the basic work done. Are you speaking for all the councillors in? Yeah. Okay. Are you happy with that, Mrs. Sharney?
That because of this congestion at the front, I saw a few times the ambulance is stuck as well, and the fire brigade stuck as well, and then it's emergency, so this should not be happen. This is and it's a residential area, so because of all these businesses, all of these three streets makes so congested, and it doesn't look like this is a residential area. It's so busy, and I got two houses, and then sometimes it's make it very difficult. It's so noise at night, daytime, every time you can see this all congested. Especially in the evening as well, when the people come from work, they come to buy their food and everything, so everybody just parked on the double yellow line. I just came from work now, and I stuck at the junction of the Cold Harbour Lane and Hunters Grove for last 10 minutes. I did the video as well. If you're happy, I can show this one as well.
Please send it to Mr. Austin.
I would like to show, because it's swearing, it was beep, beep continuously, and nobody was moving just because of the one car which was illegally parked half on the footpath and half on the road. And if it's one car parked, and it's a two-way road, so I cannot go in, and the front cars are coming, and they're just literally parking in front of me. And the lady come out, and she starts swearing.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that did occur to me, and your comment reminded me of it, is whether there's a case or something you would want to consider of making it a one-way street, because it is, with parking down one side, there is literally one carriageway. I mean, it might be better or it might be worse. Perhaps can we work that into the consultation?
We need to be careful about.
I know it's not straightforward and easy, is it? Mr. Austin, you may have comments all round. So
Yes. I mean, I think firstly, in terms of the consultation area, and first of all, thank you for bringing your petition tonight, and you did put your case very eloquently. In terms of the area, perhaps that's something we can discuss, Councillor, and then we can agree the area. And what we'll do, we'll analyse the results on a house-by-house, street-by-street basis. So if it turns out that Hunters Grove is fully supportive but the other roads aren't, it doesn't mean that we can't look at progressing something for Hunters Grove. So we can do that. I think we need to be careful when we're talking about one-way workings. It kind of really falls out the remit of this report, and what it can do is increase traffic speeds because people have the idea that nothing's coming in the opposite direction, so we'll put our foot down.
These things are double-edged swords, of course.
Exactly, of course. And with regards to the issues you're facing currently with illegal parking, when we received your petition, I did pass the concerns on to our parking enforcement team, and they have assured me that they will increase parking patrols in the area. So there's a positive already that we've started to work on that as well.
This issue, the increasing the petroleum, is in 2022. I wrote to our MP, John MacDonald, and then at that time they did increase, but it's only happened for a short while, but it doesn't continuously, it happens at all. And I don't see, we see any people who putting the tickets.
But just to try and give you some reassurance, in Hunters Grove between the 1st of January 2023 and the 30th of January 2024, Hunters Grove was visited 2,283 times, and there were 402 penalty charge notices issued. So you might not see them there all the time, but they are there, and so we will continue to do that. But I think if we do look at getting the consultation underway, and then let's see how residents feel about the possibility of a parking scheme, and then perhaps if there is a scheme in the road, it might encourage the civil enforcement officers to take more visits. So let's work.
This doesn't happen continuously because it doesn't happen continuously because it was agreed in the past as well, and they said from 1st of October till 15th of March 2023, 6 months, and they issued 130 tickets only. In 6 months, 130 tickets. Out of 130, 117 tickets only on the double yellow line. And the amount of cars parked over there, these tickets doesn't match the amount of congestion over there.
I mean, I hear what you say and I accept what you say, but unfortunately we can't station a traffic officer there 24 hours a day. I think what would be useful afterwards, and perhaps with your help, Councillor, is if there are. I mean, it may be that it's a problem all day, every day, but it may be also that it's a problem particularly at certain times of the day. And if that is a case, then if we had some guidance on that, again, we can point officers particularly at given times of the day to target that issue. I think the answer is that we go ahead now with the. Okay.
I know maybe it's possible or not, but if there is a enforcement camera, should be, I don't know, because there's a bus stop, there's a heavy road, and it's a congestion. So maybe that's the council will be very rich.
It's a very nice thought, but
if they apply, I'm sure you will.
Yes, it's a very nice thought, but unfortunately we are not allowed in law to enforce by camera. It was something we used to be able to do briefly, for a brief period of time, but it's not something we're allowed to do by law. So the only way we can enforce this is by having someone on the ground issuing a ticket. On that basis, I think, thank you for your time. You see, talking in public wasn't too bad. There are three recommendations. The first is I meet and listen to the petitioners, which I'm sure you can accept we've done. The second is to ask officers to look at the a parking scheme programme for this and to agree the details with the ward councillors. And thirdly, to ask officers in the relevant department to investigate any possible cases in Hunters Grove where it appears that off-street parking is taking place, but the proper installation of necessary drop curbs. Yes, that's one thing I should mention. It is an offence to park on the front of your property if you do so without going across a drop curb. In other words, if you bump your car up over the pavement, over the curb, to park on your front garden, that is an offence, and we will take action. So, as part of this scheme, we will be reminding residents that we have that policy, and that if they want to apply for a drop curb, they can do so. We charge, but so you should be aware of that. Yes, well, that would be cured by a residence parking scheme. So, hopefully that things will improve. Anyway, on that basis, I move those three recommendations. Okay, thank you. Yes, I will. It was sort of pre-meeting chat as opposed to actual. Anyway, Mr. Singh, you'll need to press your button, and then please speak when you're ready.
Okay, sir. Good evening, everyone. I just come in here. I live in Simpson Road, Bachester Singh, 76 Simpson Road, West Drayton. We had quite a few accidents on our road, and some were very serious. This one was reported last year, 18th of May 2000. 23. It happened 1 p.m. and it took 9 hours to clear the road. The road was blocked for 9 hours until 9 o'clock in the night. And there's 2 accidents just happened this month. One accident happened on 28th of January, 24th. Ben hit the 3 cars as he was so fast speed, I understand. I've been informed. Then police was informed about that. Second one happened last Tuesday, 30th January, about 4 p.m. when child came off the bus and trying to cross the road and hit by a car. Luckily, that wasn't that bad, but it was bad enough to get something done on this road. What we are requesting of people are over there, they want very slow speed because we are getting very heavy traffic on that road now. Big trucks, heavy lorries, all them coming on the road, but they wasn't coming there before for some reason. And we are asking for CCTV speed cameras, or flashing lights, more signs for speed limit so people are aware of it. And definitely we need 1 or 2 zebra crossing near the bus stop when the children come off the bus, or the old people like me or senior citizens, they can cross the road safely. And there's a service road come from one side, and there should be turn left only, what we think, because when people come on that road, from that road, turn right, there's a bus stop there, and nobody can see behind the bus. And other traffic, motorbike comes very fast, somebody go from there, that's where the most of the accident happen. And then we're asking anything, I mean, we're not qualified, you people are more qualified. All we want, the taxi accident happen less on that road. If we want to make a roundabout or narrow lane to slow down traffic somehow, as so many heavy lorries are coming. And I have been reporting since 1996 to the council, and so far nothing has been done on this road. We would appreciate that if somebody can look into it in the future, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Start perhaps before I get into discussion about it overall. Are all 3 of you wanting to speak, or just 2 of you, or? If you allow it, yeah. Scott, do you want to go first?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Singh has been very dogged with this issue. I was actually in attendance nearby. I was doing a ward walkabout on the 18th of May and saw the aftermath. It was pretty horrendous. And I agree with the petitioner and the signatories that something needs to be done on this road. You will already be aware, Chairman, that just round the corner, Cherry Lane, had a recent examination of traffic, and raised tables were put in there. However, that hasn't slowed the issue beyond going on to Simpson Road and further on. The whole issue with safety has been articulated very, very, very clearly. Some other sort of points of note as well. Also, we have the proximity of the M4, so it had people coming into the area that haven't decided to reduce their speed as they come into our area. We've also got a school nearby, which on both sides does not have a reduced speed compared to other schools in the borough. So that may be something else to be looked at as well. Certainly, whether or not I don't know precisely where the monitoring equipment was put down for Cherry Lane, but I would advocate that would be informative to what's been going on and potentially into it, but certainly more monitoring on Simpson Road itself. I'm aware of the Chair's adverse reaction to speed bumps, but it's about mitigations and whatever, so obviously there are other things, roundabouts and give way to traffic and things. Obviously we need to be cognizant of the fact there's a bus route on that road as well, so certain things may not be viable. I'm also aware that we've got an issue down at the Harmsworth Road end with vehicles parking on there, and they've been swiped as well. So we've got a bit of a congestion issue at one end, but also when there's no cars there, they'll up and down like a rocket. So, yeah, there's plenty of things that could be done, and things that we looked at. So please, I would ask that we definitely have the monitoring, but use what has been done in the immediate locality as an informative towards that. Thank you.
Chairman. I'm coming in on behalf of Heathrow Village's side of things. When Cherry Lane, we had this speeding problem in Cherry Lane with lots of accidents. I think at one point we had a fatality before we were able to get the speed bump put into Cherry Lane. What hasn't happened is the reduced speed in Cherry Lane because it's still a 30 miles and not a 20-mile zone. And I think what Mr. Singh is asking for is for to stop the speeding happening, but also to look at the area, because when one area is attended to, it tends to impact on other areas. So with Simpson Road and Cherry Lane, once you pass the school in Cherry Lane, you see the traffic, they speed up. They don't slow down. So they come around that curve in a speed. And if the light is green, straight across, boom, in a speed. And you have to be in the area sometimes to actually witness it, because you can't believe that residents or the road users are literally speeding in the build-up area around that area. Then you come up to Station Road, and then that's another problem. So whatever there is that can be done in regards to enabling and stopping, what we don't want is another fatality that we had on Cherry Lane. You don't really want to have another fatality. So looking at the options that will benefit the residents, slow the speed down and give the residents some consolation to know that something is going to be done about the concerns around the speeding in the locality. One of the other things I would recommend, these warning signs, these signs to make, I don't know the name of it, but at least to let people know they're over the speed limit, yes. And perhaps some kind of introduction, reduction in speed there as well. And Mr. Singh has asked us for CCTV cameras, and you're saying you no longer do that. I'll come back to it. Yeah. Perhaps maybe a speed camera can go up there. We still have some of them locally. I don't know if you still do it. It's just perhaps whether it's done or not, to look at that too as well. Because as much as the speed camera, much as the speed reduction happened, there is no policing of the road, and that got an impact too as well. Because even though you got a 20-mile zone, people still speed, and it's just a deterrent. But what we don't want to see as ward councillors, representative resident, is fatality on our roads. And that's what I have to say in support. Thank you.
Do you want to speak too, or?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I just received a message from Councillor Johnson, who sent apology. She's not well, and she's supporting this petition. All has been mentioned by my fellow councillor Scott Farley and Heathrow Village Councillor John Nelson. Yes, I was one of the eyewitness for the last year. The accident happened in May. I live across the road from there, and I've seen what is going on there. And recently, there's on Cherry Lane speed bump in put up, which is really helpful. And because the Cherry Lane, it leads to Simpson Road, and Cherry Lane Junction is M4 junctions. When the people come just from M4, people just to fly that. There is schoolies over there, as Councillor Farley mentioned that, and it is really necessary to put up something in there on this road, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks all of you. I'll come back to you in a minute. Obviously I hear what you say. I know the spot. I've been there, and I had another look when this came up. So I'm familiar with the issues. They don't surprise me. Few quick comments to start with. Speed cameras are not something we can erect. They're a police matter. And so I would, and speeding in general is a police matter. We can take steps, and they've been outlined by various people. VAR is the name of the flashing speed signs. We can do things like that. I am a reluctant speed humper, as you know, but ultimately, if there is nothing else that works, it's something we can consider. And we can, in certain places, and I'm willing in certain places to introduce 20 mile an hour zones around schools, particularly, is sort of my concession area. But as one of you pointed out already, it isn't it's nothing we can enforce. So it is only, if you like, a guidance. It's a warning to drivers. Hey, look, there's a reason we're slowing it down at 20. There's a school nearby. Maybe I should be a bit more careful. The police are the only people who can enforce speed, and they seem reluctant. Whether you collectively have tried to encourage your safer neighbourhood teams, or whatever they now call themselves, to be more active, I don't know. Certainly in some parts of the borough, and I don't know whether it's the case down where you are, they do have speed guns, or they have access to speed guns, and you can persuade them now and again to come out and point the thing and stop people. Because that does help. I fully understand that the proximity to the M4 perhaps encourages drivers coming off it to go, hey ho, But equally, I think it works the other way. If you've been stuck in Station Road for 10 minutes trying to move along at 2 miles an hour, and you suddenly get into Simpson Road, and you think, oh, thank God, there's no car. I think it works both ways. Interestingly, Mr. Singh, I think, mentioned parked cars at when, or perhaps it was you, Scott, I can't remember, mentioned parked cars. As you will know, they work both ways. Parked cars can be a nuisance and can be damaged, of course, by vehicles passing them, but they do act often as a speed deterrent. In other words, they do. The appearance of parked cars in the right places do slow things down. So there's good and bad. I mean, we can look at it, but when you clear a road of parked cars, it's, again, almost another invitation to go, oh, good, there's nothing in the way, put my foot down. So it works. It can work both ways. One thing I did pick up on, and I'd just like to ask you, Mr. Singh, about it, and maybe one of you would like to chip in. You mentioned the bus stop. And obviously the child crossing the road recently who was lucky or unlucky depending on which way you want to couch it. Is there something to be said? And again, we don't control the location of bus stops, but we do. We can have conversations and talk to TfL who control bus stops. Is there a case to be made for moving the bus stop? In other words, if we moved it in one direction or another, and obviously we'd have to discuss the whys and wherefores, would it make that junction safer, or at least crossing the road safer because it wasn't right on the junction? Because you seem to imply, and maybe I've got it wrong, that if a bus was at the stop, thus blocking vision, that could be the cause for accidents. Now, obviously, if you move that bus up the street one way or down the street one way, maybe. So I just asked that question, really. Would you?
There isn't any feasible place to move the bus anywhere else. There's a road junction on the behind as well, and further down as well. Doesn't look like any space for the bus stop. Bus stop is okay itself. If the speed should slow down, and if we can have pedestrians crossing there somewhere, behind the bus or front of the bus somewhere, people can cross safely with the flashing lights on. That's what we need, a lot more.
Well, we can certainly look at that as part of the thing. I really would recommend the four of you, or the 5 of you, if you add them all in, lobbying the police, because speeding is their duty. They're reluctant some of the time to come out, but if you make enough noise, often they will come out periodically with their speed gun. And if it's a regular offender, there's nothing like the vision of blokes and women in high-vis jackets pointing things at you to bring everybody slower, for a period at least. I do appreciate that it's not necessarily a long-term solution, but it does help in the short term. I think the obvious thing is, as Scott touched on, is the first thing we've got to do is a speed survey. It's the obvious starting point. I know that Steve is going to wield his map in a minute and ask for your opinion on where to put the rumble strips, and we can certainly look at that. As far as the school's concerned, we can look at a 20-mile-an-hour zone around it, because that's something we're willing to do. But I do emphasise the fact that it's a deterrent. I think you touched on it, Councillor Nelson. It's a deterrent. It's not something we can guarantee or enforce, because we don't have any powers to do so. But I mean, our past experience seems to show that if you measure a road at 30 miles an hour and see how fast the cars go, and you measure the same road, if you like, at 20 miles an hour, what you see is that they've slowed down a bit. And if they've slowed down a bit, that's better than them not slowing down a bit. It's not as good as them being at 20 miles an hour, but at least they are, a bit better than it would be otherwise. So I think that's probably the first step. Anything else you want to add? I'm sorry, you'll have to... I know, I'm sorry.
I wanted to add in about the HS2 vehicles and those big trucks that comes from, because HS2 vehicles do use the Hammondsworth Road to get into the sewers gravel pit. That's where they go sometimes and offload some of the gravel and stuff. And is it skips? Yeah, they do skips as well. So, also to have a look to see, or some kind of engagement with HS2 and those companies that use it, to ask the drivers to look at their speed, because they do come down very fast down those roads. And especially with the children during school times and stuff, accidents can happen, and a child getting hit with those trucks, they probably might not even feel they hit the child until it's gone past, because it's heavy vehicles. And that's something perhaps maybe that you can look at. It's not only there, it's an issue right around the ward areas, West Drayton and Heathrow villages, about these heavy trucks using the area, because I think it was under the agreement, if I can recollect, with HS2, when they make the agreement on the local areas they have to use and using local facilities and stuff. That's my understanding of it. But at the same time, they're a hazard to the local residents and pedestrians on our local roads.
Yes, I mean, Steve, you might have something to add on this, but HS2 vehicles are supposed to stick to prescribed routes. And indeed, there are cameras up that look a bit like the ULEZ cameras, but they're cameras up that relate specifically to HS2 vehicles to check their movements, because they're supposed to stick to given routes. Now, I don't know in detail which those routes are, but I'm sure we know. So if they're not going where they're supposed to go, we should be taking action already, because it should be apparent. Mr. Austin, do you want to add?
No, I think that's right, and thank you for bringing it to our attention, Councillor Nelson, because they are limited to what routes they can use. So if they're deviating from those routes, then we need to find out why. There's no excuse, really. There's agreements in place, but we'll check the routes that they're supposed to be using, and if there's any evidence that you might come across as local ward councillors or local residents that you think that these are associated with HS2, then if you can get any information, maybe a picture on your phone, anything like that, any information would be really helpful in putting a case to HS2. But it's a concern if that's what's happening.
Yeah, we have submitted some MEs from Hammondsworth residents regarding that the HS2 going through the area. So
sure.
you probably find some of it on
I'll pick that up with my colleague Rick Connors, who's looking after that side of things. But thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, well, on that basis, there are 3 recommendations. Meet the petitioner, thank you, Mr. Singh, to agree to commission, I think as a first step, we must commission a speed survey. It will give us a clear indication of what's happening down there. And immediately after I close this meeting, please come and let's have a discussion about where to stick the rumble strips. So you're going to undertake the survey and then report back to me, and then instruct officers to investigate what we can do, particularly to the junction where the service road meets the main carriageway, but also what else we can do down there that would make sense. Is that okay? Yeah. I so move. Thank you very much.